Well, hey, everybody. My name is Lisa Nearing from True North Homeschool Academy, and I am here to talk to you about homeschooling and home education. And as we all know, home education has blown up in the last couple of years for good reason. But I want to talk to you about homeschooling because I want to let you know you don't have to go it alone and that there's some great resources out there for you as you home educate. So I just want you to know that we get you at True North Homeschool Academy because we homeschool at True North Homeschool Academy. Our mission is to come alongside fellow home educators. That means that we've homeschooled. I personally homeschooled for 30 years. So I get the I get the joys of homeschooling, I get the challenges of homeschooling, I get the frustrations of homeschooling, and I get the big wins of homeschooling because I did it for so long. I homeschooled my 5 kids from 1991 until 2021. And so it was a long and fun, sometimes frustrating journey, but I've learned a lot. And we started True North Homeschool Academy in 2018 to come alongside fellow homeschoolers because we wanted to bring what we learned to you. But more importantly than that, we wanted to bring world-class experts from around the world to you, regardless of where you lived. One of the things I realized as I was homeschooling was that during my homeschool journey, the things that I was really good at, my kids tended to be really pretty good at. But the things that I struggled with or didn't feel super confident with, my kids actually struggled with as well. And so I wanted to find world-class experts for my own family. And I decided, hey, if I'm going to do it for us, might as well do it for you too. And so right now, our teachers come from around the United States, as well as Mexico, Italy, Scotland, and Israel. And so we have found teachers who love to teach. They love online learning. We do a lot of training with our teachers, and they love to school. They love to teach. They love to educate kids, and they're thrilled to be teaching for True North Homeschool Academy. So I wanted to really bring people who knew what they were doing to my own family and to you, because here's the deal. Our kids, mine and yours, they need friends and they need other kids to connect with and know that as they homeschool, they're not alone in this unique way of educating. Now, of course, since 2020, that uniqueness has worn off just a little bit, but it's still, can be a little bit isolating sometimes if you're off the beaten path or like we live in a very remote area. So that was one of the reasons why we started homeschooling or started True North Homeschool Academy. I also have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, as well as a master's degree in human development. And so I really understand ages and stages of homeschooling. And as I was writing and blogging about homeschooling, one thing I kept hearing over and over is that it doesn't matter how you educate your kids, it doesn't matter what kind of curriculum you use. But I have found that that is not actually true. There are truly some bad educational curriculums out there. There's really, truly some bad educational pedagogy out there, as we all found during 2020, right? And so there's better ways to educate, more effective ways to educate. And there's actually some really great curriculum out there, some so-so curriculum, and then some curriculum that you should just like leave at the curb. So I wanted to really share some of that knowledge and save you guys the time and money and frustration that I went through to find the things that really work and the things that were really effective. Now, in saying that, I have 5 kids. You probably have a bunch too. And one thing that I realized, and I know you realize this already, is that sometimes what works for one kid doesn't work for the next kid very well. And so there's no one perfect curriculum. Darn it, I wish I could tell you I found the perfect curriculum. But there's things that you can do that will really help ease your frustration, like cause you to spend way less money on homeschooling and et cetera. So I just wanted to have a plan or a program so that I could share some of those great things that I learned with you. The other thing that we do at True North Homeschool Academy is we offer academic advising and coaching, and we do a lot of that kind of thing free for you. Because one of the things I realized as I was working with homeschoolers from around the world is that if you just have a good, actionable, affordable plan that works for you and your family, you can have a much more enriched and enjoyable homeschool life. Not only that, but you can go farther faster. And what do I mean by farther faster? I don't mean get it all done by the time your kids are 12. That's not what I'm really advocating for, although that works really well for some kids and some families. What I'm saying is by going faster is that you don't have to spend time frustrated. You don't have to waste time going, what's going to work? What's not going to work? What does this mean? What should I be doing next? And you can just save yourself, literally time and money. One of the things I realized as I've homeschooled, because again, I was a homeschooler, so this is one of the things I was looking for, is we all want assurance that at the end of the day, at the end of our homeschooling experience, our kids will truly be educated. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be truly educated? Well, there's so many different theories and adages about education, but one of the things that I really like to think about as I'm educating my own kids and others is that education is the transmission of culture. And we see this in public schools, we see this in private schools all the time, is that education truly is the transmission of culture. So what culture are we transmitting? Are we transmitting a culture of truth, beauty, and goodness? Are we transmitting a culture of worker bees for rich industrialists? So really, what kind of culture do you want to transmit for your kids' educational experience, be that at private, public, or homeschool? It's an important question. It gets down to your why. Why are you homeschooling? What is the point of education? But it's a little bit deeper. What is your philosophy behind education? And that's one of the things that we're very clear about at True North Homeschool Academy, because without that, we have no guiding principle or guiding light. And so I think it's really important. But okay, back to the assurance of your kids being educated. Are they embracing a culture of truth, beauty, and goodness? But beyond that, can they teach themselves as we go into this future global gig economy that they're going to be working and learning in? They need to have some skills that allows them to be competitive in those kind of environments, because again, that's going to be the environment that they work and live in. We also want the assurance that our kids will find success educationally, vocationally, and societally, socially, right? And so, we've all seen those memes about the weird homeschooler that they can't really get along in society. But all of our kids are socialized, really, one way or another. If they're raised in a wolf pack, they're socialized to the wolf pack. So if we homeschool them, they're socialized to our home environment versus if they're in a public or private school environment, being socialized to that environment. Now, there are pros and cons to both. I would say that the pros outweigh the cons in the homeschooling world, but there are still some cons to that. And if you're weird, hey, guess what? Your kids are probably going to be socialized to be a little different. But that is okay, because every family has its own culture. And so, really, by homeschooling, you're just acclimating your student, your kids to the culture in your home versus the culture in a broader and wider society. I think there's really an important reason why a lot of the very rich IT people in the world, the gurus, they have their kids go to very, very private schools, almost to the point of homeschooling them. Many of them do homeschool. There's a reason for that, because they understand that a lot of tech and a lot of broader socialization at younger ages isn't really good for development of creativity and other important aspects and traits that they want their kids to really embrace and have as part of who they are, so that they as adults can have that as part of their personality. So just something to think about. But again, all of us are socialized. Your kids will be socialized whether they are homeschooled or go to a public school, but it's really just what kind of socialization do you want for your kids? And then the other thing, what does keep people from homeschooling? What keeps them in a public school system, even though they might not feel like it's the best one for their kids, or in a private school system, which they might not feel is the best one and cost a fortune? And let's be honest, public school costs money too, right? You're always doing fundraisers. You have to buy school supplies and books and uniforms and all the things. So it's not like public school is free, right? But one of the things that keeps people from homeschooling is that they lack confidence in their own ability to educate their kids. And so, that is a real thing. If you don't have the confidence to homeschool your kids, it might be really intimidating. You can do hard things. You can also outsource, right? A lot of us are working while we homeschool. More and more of us are working while we homeschool. I worked for a third of the time that I homeschooled. And that was a lot of years of homeschooling and juggling kids at home. But it's doable. More and more of us are embracing that, and we're able to balance. And it can always be a juggling act. But if we get really clear about what are our purposes and roles as a home educating parent, makes it so much easier. If we outsource a bit, it makes it so much easier. So many of us feel like we have a lack of support from the community, either extended family or friends or a wider community, and that can be really tough to go against the grain. We might be really worried about how to start legally. Let me assure you, homeschooling is legal in all the states right now. So you're safe. You can homeschool legally and it's not a problem. We wonder if we can get started. What does that even look like? How do we sort through all the options? How do we know what to do next? How do we know what our kids need? Those are all practical questions and real deal things that keep people from homeschooling. But I want to assure you that we have solutions for all of those reasons. If you're really interested in homeschooling, we can really bring solutions to the table for you so that you can homeschool confidently and successfully, right? Our desire at True North Homeschools Academy is that you realize that you can homeschool successfully. I want you to know that there's never been a better time to homeschool. There are so many resources, tools, and programs available to homeschool, and they are phenomenal. Homeschooling is really the best way to impart your values to your kids because you're home with them. And here's the deal: there's a joke that goes around that says, "I homeschool my kids so that I can teach them all the best things about myself." And on the other hand, your kids learn all the worst things about you too. But isn't that just the beauty of being in a relationship with each other? You get to see positives, you get to see the negatives, you get to still decide to love each other. And that's one of the things homeschooling teaches your kids in a warm, caring environment. Homeschooling really is the best way to socialize your kids to become healthy, mature adults and godly spiritual beings. Again, we aren't raising kids. We aren't really raising adults. We're raising spiritual beings. And so this is a great way to socialize your kids to help them understand the importance and value of their spiritual lives and well-being. Homeschoolers are naturally entrepreneurial because, hey, we're already off the beaten path. It's the nature of our lives. And this is a great way to set your kids up for financial and vocational freedom as you homeschool and just help them get an entrepreneurial class under their belt in junior or senior high and start that little micro business. You never know, it might turn into something really amazing. Our mission at True North Homeschool Academy is again to come alongside fellow homeschoolers so that you have the confidence you need to homeschool successfully, so that you have the tools and resources to implement that make sense for you and your family to reach your goals as a homeschooling family. If you begin to homeschool, if you decide to do that this year, I want to just assure you that this is the beginning of an educational freedom opportunity for you. And it's the beginning of educational success for both you and your family. If you're a new homeschooler, I invite you to schedule a homeschool coaching session with our academic advisors, as well as sign up for one of our diagnostic tests. It's much easier to know where you want to go to if you know where you're starting from. And if you're a seasoned homeschooler, I want you to know that you'll find useful tools, tips, and tricks to keep you going, refresh your journey, and help you launch your kids successfully. So I am so glad that you're here and that you found True North Homeschool Academy. I hope that you're encouraged by this video. If you have any questions about homeschooling, how to get started, I would love to chat with you. Check the links in the bio and let's get going.